Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday. Normally 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, but we're going live early today because your boy's got a flight to catch and things happen, you guys, and I'm trying to make everything work here. So that's what we're doing. We're going live at 8 o'clock Central today, and we're just going to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I probably fly that American flag with me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. This is the last day. I'm out in Houston. The conference ended yesterday, the Cybersecurity Digital Solutions Conference from the NMFTA. You guys, there's a lot to learn out there. I mean, I'm pretty novice when it comes to a lot of stuff with computers. I mean, my normal IT solution is just hit restart or unplug it and plug it back in. And we are, it was a really great time. I'm going to be putting out a couple of episodes that I'm going to be releasing here in the coming weeks. And we're going to jump into that. But I got a guest for you guys here today. I'm going to bring him up in a second. And I really just wanted to talk about current events, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and give my opinion on some of the stuff that's going on in the industry, because frankly, people's lives are now up in air, and we're not here to celebrate anything. We're just here to talk about the realities of stuff. So with that being said, I got my man, Brian Hastings with Veritas Logistics on the show. Brian, what's up, brother?
Yeah, how are you, Chris? Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it. Always a pleasure, when we connect, and it's I'm excited to chat a little bit of freight today.
Dude, absolutely, man. Yeah, because like I was texting when we were texting last week, because I was hoping you were going to be down in San Diego with me. But
yeah.
You were out there in Anaheim at that other conference, and we were texting back and forth about some of these current events that were going on out there. And man, it's just like, I wanted to bring you on, especially today, because you've been in the industry for a long time. You and your business partner, when you guys started Veritas, bootstrapped and built it up and everything. And I just, I think that there's a false sense of reality out there from some of the Monday morning quarterbacks that you see all over social media talking about, oh, I saw it coming and this and that and everything else under the sun. And, at the end of the day, I'm going to be very blunt. If you ever wonder why you're not succeeding in life, a very large part of it is because you openly celebrate other people's failures and you attract that to yourself, right? Like, I'm a big believer in, big believer in God and in man of faith, but the universe as well. And I feel like if you project that out there, man, you're gonna get it back.
Yeah, no, you're speaking my language, man. I didn't know we were gonna go this route, but the law of attraction and reciprocity. I mean, that's right up my alley. I never wish ill will on anyone, and I think we're speaking the same language there.
Yeah, man. And it's, because at the end of the day, dude, business is hard, right? Like, I don't think most people realize it until they've put all their capital on the line. And, regardless if people raised money and funding and all of that, have a war chest of funds at the time, like, you still need to figure this stuff out at the end of the day. And, I will say this, I have all the respect in the world for Dan Lewis and what he built and what he went at Convoy. I truly feel like that has changed the landscape of the industry. That shows that digital is a viable option. Now, is it perfect? No. Is there going to be kinks to work out? Absolutely. But I feel like Dan Lewis and the team at Convoy deserve a lot of respect for the path that I think that they carved out there. And then again, man, the founding a company, putting your ass on the line like he did, all the respect in the world to Dan.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you said it a little bit earlier, but, not here to be a Monday morning quarterback. I think we have plenty of those and
Yeah.
plenty of people that are speculating, right? And they don't know what's happening internally over there at that company.
Yeah.
Same thing that you said, that sucks. People's lives are on the line. Anybody that worked there or had positions there, they got thrown a little bit of a monkey wrench. But same thing goes that you said is, it's hard. It's very, very hard. There's good days and bad days. And I think, our company is only, 3 years old, but yeah, there's been a lot of hard days and a lot of, when, that bell rings at the end of the day, you always look back and think did I do everything I could to try to move the needle or try to, get to that next phase. I think that, even with, that challenging situation, that sucks. At the same time, Chris, I don't think that they're going to be the last, right? Yeah. The freight climate today is extremely challenging, right? Like we're in it every single day and we're having those conversations with clients. I mean, hell, I was out at that conference last week and we're hearing a lot of the same stuff about the freight market. So it's one of those things where the job is really hard. The industry right now is, very challenging. At the end of the day, we always want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward.
Yeah. But if you go back over your career and really jumping out and starting though, like when hasn't it been challenging though? Right. Because I see a lot of this stuff out there, man. And this is the stuff that really drives me nuts is it's like this sense of, oh, it should be easy. Right. And why isn't it easy and everything else? And, because from my perspective, man, I've always had it hard, dude. Like I went to public school, right, bro? Like I've had to figure this stuff out day in and day out. And, I'm open to the fact that it's supposed to be hard and everything else. And, I think that at the end of the day, we have to look at entrepreneurship and business through a different lens. I saw, I think it was Brent Orsuga who commented on somebody else's post earlier today that entrepreneurship's been glorified on social media here. Sure. And it really has, right? And then it's like, oh, it's easy and everything else. And it's like, man, this is challenging, right? And again, I'm not saying any of this for any sympathy. I don't need anybody's sympathy. Every opportunity that I have right now is truly a blessing, and it's what I prayed for and what I worked for. But man, I've been in 6 different cities in the last 6 weeks. As you can see, I'm in a fucking hotel right now, man. I've slept in a hotel more in the last 30 days than I have at my own home. I've been away from my family. I've missed, my son's events and, unfortunately I have a badass wife who takes care of the house when I'm gone. But like, man, this is the reality of this stuff, right? Like it's not easy. It's not perfect. And you got to show up and find solutions though, at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you're talking to a guy who, as a child, I was on food stamps for several years, right? So, going through tough times is kind of par for the course for me. I think that it's one of those things where I think you mentioned it, but it is challenging, whether it's a softer market, whether it's a tighter market, both sides are challenging, right? I think that it's, I hate this in our industry sometimes when I hear other brokers or other transportation providers talking about how soft the industry is. And, I can't wait for it to get tighter. To me, that's a loser mentality. It's a little bit harsh, but that's a loser mentality, right? Like
not on this show.
Markets. Yeah. I mean, I think I think if the market's soft, okay, how do we create better client relationships? What are we doing from, the client side that are currently paying our bills today? I think a lot of times, brokers get into that transactional phase or that transactional mode and really have to ask ourselves, when was the last time that I made a phone call and had a conversation with my best client, right? Yeah. A week, 2 weeks, a month, right? I'm sitting here telling you today, like that's definitely happened to me, right? Where 4 weeks go by and our best client, I haven't talked to him. And it's like, oh God, man, I need to make a phone call. We need to, reconnect. Those are things that, we have to do as brokers, and it's definitely not easy, but we can control a lot of the things in our industry to put ourselves in a better position, right? Because I guarantee when that market flips, whenever that time may be, and nobody has a crystal ball, but it's going to be, hopefully your carrier relationships are really good where you're able to go back to the table and say, hey, listen, this is what it is. I have the inventory, or I have the capacity, and here's what I can offer at, this price. So I agree with you. It's kind of like pick your challenge or pick your level of hardship, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Right. And it's like, how many people out there where, cause again, like, again, I'm not saying any of this stuff is easy, but like, what, like, for example, what you're doing at your company, Brian, does not affect my business at all. Right.
Right.
Like somebody else's performance, somebody else's results has no effect on my business. Like, I need to focus on me. I need to focus on what you're talking about right there. My customer relationships. What am I doing to build that loyalty up to my customers and my carriers, right? Because inevitably things are going to flip, right? And again, if any freight broker out there can show me a business plan where you can make money without having trucks, I'm all ears. Still waiting for that to happen. So all of you guys who are out here driving prices down, recycling carriers, they know this. They will remember this when it flips, right? Because it's like, to me, that's what the sole responsibility of a broker is to manage that customer and manage that carrier and build up and be a broker of choice to both, right? I want to be a broker of choice to my carrier partners almost more than I want to be a broker of choice to my customers, right? Because at the end of the day, that's a direct extension of my product that I offer out there. And I want to build that up because I want my drivers to know that we got their back at the end of the day, right? And I want to deliver a product to my customers where it's like consistency, right? They get the exact same level of service no matter what's going on, the same level of communication, the same photos, the same updates. Everything happens like clockwork where it's I don't want to say set it and forget it, but it's like they don't have to worry about stuff when they're working on me because I'm always looking to improve as an organization, right? Like I dissect almost every shipment we move now. And it's like, all right, where can we get better? Granted, we don't have a ton of volume moving or anything like that, so I'm able to do it, but that's a blessing, right? It's a blessing to build this up and look at how am I interacting with my business partner? What more information can I get to help us provide a better product out there?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's, you mentioned about the carrier utilization, and that's something that we keep a close eye on within Veritas. And our goal is 70-30. I mean, hell, we would love to be 100% zero, but our goal is 70% internal carrier network, 30% outside. And we're still at that phase. We're 3 years in, and we still got to set up carriers, right? We don't have an extensive carrier base of 50,000 carriers at this point. Hopefully in the future, we will get to that point. But now we do have to set up new carrier partners. But we rely on, pushing that internal carrier network because my opinion is they're invested in our business, right? Just as we should be invested in their business. So when you talk about that relationship, I think in a market like this, it does get overlooked, right? And the more that, I've been doing this since 2009, and the more that you can invest into that relationship, the better off you'll be in the long run when the market tightens up or there's less trucks available. So I think you definitely have to invest in those relationships. I mean, we're pretty old school. We invest in a lot of technology and we want to make our process as efficient as possible. We are a very big handwritten note type of company, right?
Love it.
So for us, man, that is something that we push all the time. Any type of clients, any type of carriers that bring value to the table, we're pushing out handwritten cards all the time. Right. And again, I know it's old school and it's a little bit outdated, but for us, there's a personal touch to that, right? Like what other competitors are doing that in the marketplace today?
Yeah, I don't think it's outdated at all, Brian. I think it's cutting edge because nobody's doing it, right? Like we do that, right? Like we have again, we utilize technology, reminders, hey, send thank you notes, send all of that to the trucking companies that we work. And man, it's even like when you're dealing with a driver, like I had a driver literally tell me this last week. I'm like, hey man, I really appreciate everything you did for us on this load. Thank you. And he stopped me and he's like, I haven't heard that in almost a year from brokers, FYI. And he's like, you guys are different. And he's like, I appreciate that because, again, a lot of these individuals out there, they don't need a parade, but like, who doesn't want to be told you did a good job and thank you, right? Like everybody wants that, but it's like so many people, again, they view it as a transaction. like Dustin Lopedota here. He's been on my podcast. He drives overdimensional and heavy haul out of Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, this is a real human being, man. He's married. He has kids.
Yeah.
He's out on the road, dude. I follow him on social media. That dude's out there busting his ass for his family. You think that he doesn't want that? And again, I can't speak for Dustin, but
Sure.
like that, dude, that's a real human being behind the wheel. And like that removal of the humanization of this industry is just fucking insane to me.
Yeah. I think, it's, I think people crave that. People crave, I'm a huge believer in people crave human connection, right? So yes, we can automate things and we can make things a lot more efficient, but at the end of the day, my opinion and my belief is that people crave human connection and they want to speak with somebody on the phone, or they want to have a conversation with, an actual person to resolve a situation. Right. And, that's, again, that's personal belief there, but I think it goes a long way in our industry on the client side and the carrier side.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. And it's like, and I also, again, I'm just speaking from my experience right now. Like, right when things are slow, when things are down, what are you doing to improve? Maybe not even in your business, but yourself, right? Are you out there seeking education? Are you out there reading books, listening to podcasts besides Coffee with the Freight Coach? Because you should be listening to that every day. But, again, man, like I am a massive follower of Andy Frisella. I'm in the RTA syndicate. I've applied literally everything that man has discussed for free on his podcast too, right? So like go back and listen to that. RTA is just icing on the cake. Same with Ed Milet, same with Alex Hermosi, and, and other individuals as well, Ben Newman. There's a lot of people that I listen to because, again, I'm trying to look for other ways that I can improve because you know what? The reality is my schedule's not full every day, all day long, right? But what you're doing in that time helps you, right? So it's like, are you just chalking it up to, it's the market and then you go to happy hour or, you go to the bar and then, it's like, it's a wasted opportunity that's out there because there is so much free information on what you can do to improve as a business. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's it for businesses like yours and mine, or ours. It's so, our market is so fragmented, right? Like the top market share earner only has a limited amount of percent of the pie, right? So I think we're in an industry where it's extremely fragmented, which is a good thing for us. At the end of the day, you're absolutely right. Like, what are you doing to set yourself apart? You're not going out there and, competing like a company like yours and ours. Like we're not competing with the CH Robinsons, the Arrives, the Coyotes at this point, right? We're competing with other smaller brokerages, right? We're all trying to do a better job for the industry as a whole. And I think you hit it, man. I think as a fellow business owner, as somebody that, lives and breathes this stuff, we are, for us, we are trying to get better every single day as a leader. How do I inspire or motivate or coach the people or the employees that I have within the group to get the maximum amount of output from them, right? And how do I lead by example, which I think is the most important thing, leading by example to, create that environment within so it can manage itself. So yeah, I'm a huge believer. It's my wife always busts my chops because I'm always listening to something or I'm always trying to, read something or, get better, every single day.
Yeah, man. And dude, I'm so committed to that, right? Because it's like, it's sticking with my routine because like I've developed what works for me, right? And again, and I guess a lot of this is to those, if you're out there listening to this right now and you are struggling, or maybe you did lose your job recently, you got to think, because like I've been in that situation, right? Like, dude, when I started all this, man, I started all this because I was out of a job at the beginning of COVID, right? And again, I resigned from my job, at that time, and lo and behold, 4 days later, everything kind of went under. But again, it was the greatest.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, dude. But ironically, it was perfect timing because it forced me to have that hard conversation with myself in the mirror, that if I wanted to be that badass that everybody envisions themselves as, I'm like, I got to start with me, and I gotta, build out my day. I got to structure it, and I got to follow that routine, right? Like 99% of the time, nothing sexy, right? Like I do the same shit literally every single day, whether I'm at home or out on the road. I do the same stuff because I know what works for me. And it's like, it's building out that routine. And then on top of that, it's like, if you're listening to this and you're out of a job now and you want to start something, just do it, right? Like you'll figure it out if you want it bad enough, right? And I think that, for me, it's always going back. It's like, what's the routine that you're following? What are you consuming every day? Are you mindlessly scrolling through TikTok or Instagram reels or are you out there investing in yourself? Because that's the greatest thing that you can do right now in any freight market or anytime. Invest in yourself, invest in your education, and build yourself up, because that's going to help you navigate through any of this stuff more than anything, right? Because it's like, for me, it's the mental strength that I love the most now. And that's what I've seen the biggest difference is it's like, it's not that shit doesn't affect me, but like, I also know now that there's a solution behind a lot of this stuff. When something happens, there's a solution that's there.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. A couple things there. From a personal development perspective and also from an entrepreneurial perspective, I mean, anybody that is out of a job or, just lost their job, unfortunately, in the past, 6 months. Yeah, I think coming up with a plan and making sure that you're executing on that plan, whether it's maybe you don't have, maybe it doesn't within your lifestyle today, maybe it's not push all the chips to the middle of the table, right? Okay, cool. Well, we'll push 50% of the chips to the middle of the table and then have a plan to go 6 months from now. And now I'm pushing all of them in. Right. Because I think it can be scary, right? Where it's like, you had a job paying you a decent salary. You got 2 kids, you got a mortgage, you got a wife, you got a car. Like that's hard, right? That's a tough decision to make. But at least if you have a plan or you have a definitive timeline to make those decisions, I think that's extremely helpful. For us, it's it was a push all the chips to the middle of the table and don't look back. And, it is scary. And I think that's where, but for us, we've been, thinking about this for several years and, had a solution in mind or had the end in mind when we started the company. Right. Yeah. On the personal development side, I was just out at a different conference, it was a big conference week, right? Or big conference month. And it was a personal development business strategy conference with, Ben Newman and his boot camp. And love it. The coolest thing about that is just, and I'm sure it's the same way in the Arte Syndicate, you're around other business owners, other C-level executives, other entrepreneurs, and those mindsets are stinking ironclad, right? Where, nothing is getting through their mind and their mental toughness is through the roof, right? Yes. They have the best mental toughness and they're able to withstand any shortcomings or any challenges that may come up. So to me, I love going to something like that where, people have that mindset and, it makes me take a step back and look, okay, what's my network look like and who am I hanging around and what am I doing on the weekend? And, what kind of influence do I have, within my network of, 5 or 10 people.
No, man, I'm right there with you, right? Because it's getting around other individuals. And I would even say start networking, right? Like if you're in that position right now, just start networking, network with literally anyone and everyone. And just again, have conversations with individuals, because that's where, dude, I think like, say you don't want to go out and start your own business or anything like that, but that's where you're going to find a job, right? Sure. Especially in today's economy, is you're going to find it with, eventually getting in front of somebody who is hiring or knows somebody who's hiring. And, there's a lot more weight. If you were to ever text me, Brian, and say, hey, I want you to talk to this guy, I think he'd be good for your organization, that is going to instantly go up to the top of my priority list. Right. Yeah. And I would, cause like that's where a lot of these things happen. Right. So it's like, if you worked for a big logo, cause I worked for a big logo early on in my career, I know you did too. I thought everybody should know who I was because of that. And everyone would be lucky to have me work for them because I worked for such and such brokerage back in the day.
I think you're absolutely right. And oh my gosh, like you're bringing back some past experience that was, a blessing and a curse at the time, right? So I quit my job, big box brokerage, 2018. And I literally thought in them, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to quit. No problem. I'll go out there and I'll figure out a job. Well, 2 weeks went by, 30 days went by, no offers. Right. And like, I hadn't done a very good job of networking previously. Right. And I'm like, oh God, this is not, and then I'm getting job offers for, you know, whatever kind of pay. And I'm like, oh God, this is not what I had imagined. Right. To me, it was a very humbling experience. So yeah, I mean, I think advice to anybody that's out of work now, use that internal network to gain a position, or use that internal network to have those conversations. I think that's extremely valuable, because I'm a person where, you know, I don't really put myself out there too much on like social media or anything like that. I need to do better. And I think I have probably, you know, 30 posts on Instagram in my life, right? Which I need to get better. And I know that about myself. At the same time, I just had my head in the sand, working my stinking butt off in my business, or in my, you know, book of business at a big box brokerage. And that's one thing that I wish I would have done better is network with different people in the industry, or go to conferences or events, or hell, even just a 20-minute phone call to catch up with a friend. I think those things pay off in the future if you're, you know, currently looking for a different position, or, you know, currently out of work.
You know, and you have to be the one that's got to be proactive about this, right? No one's going to reach out to you, right? Like, I'm not going to look through LinkedIn and be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go call that person today, right? Like, you need to stand out in a crowd right now, and you need to be the one who is literally screaming from the mountaintops because no one's going to be a better advocate for you than you, right? But you need to be the one initiating conversations, because at the end of the day, I think one thing I realized after I started networking, and the power of it is man, there's a lot of people who actually want to help, and they're not looking to throw you under the bus. Because if you want to talk to me, I might not be hiring today, but guess what? I know like 7 brokers that are hiring today. And then again, like I was saying, man, if I texted Brian, if I knew Brian was hiring, I'd be like, hey dude, I just talked to this guy. I really think you should give him a conversation. Yeah. That's how a lot of this stuff is done, man. And I just want to see more people take that. Like, cause I think that's where a lot of these individuals who are displaced, or unfortunately who are probably about to be displaced from other things, you know, get out there, start networking. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say you got to get all over social media and build a brand or anything like that, but just get out there and start networking, shake hands, shake as many hands as you can.
Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is a powerful tool, right? I think that a lot of times we don't realize, you know, who we're connected to and who's in our, you know, we'll call it like LinkedIn network, but LinkedIn messaging and hell, use it as a sales approach where, you know, however many touches per day, or however many, you know, POCs per day that you're, you know, trying to reach out to. No, I think you're exactly right.
You never know who's watching, right? Like, you never know who's watching, good or bad. You never know who's watching.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine, I'm just going to tell a quick story, but I had a friend of mine that, he reached out, or he put a post up a couple years ago on LinkedIn saying, like, extremely vulnerable post, right? It takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to do this, but he was out of a job looking for a new position. And he posted out there, hey, I'm looking for a position. Here are my attributes. Like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. Let me know if you know anybody that's hiring. And, you know, within 24 hours, that person got, you know, 15 phone calls or 15 messages to say, hey, what's going on? Let's have a conversation. What, you know, so just the power of using that network. And maybe you have to be a little bit vulnerable, and that's okay. Right. Like, at the end of the day, I'm with you I truly feel that 90% of our society is willing to help other people. Right. Like, there's a 10% piece in there that don't really care and are very isolated and selfish, but my belief, and maybe I'm naive, but I truly believe that 90% of the people in our society are willing to help others.
I'm right there with you, man. I truly feel that way. I think it is. And it's like, who cares about the 10% that are shitbags, right? Like,
that's right.
Focus on the fact that there is a solution out there. Right. And I think that's what everybody needs to focus on, no matter what. Right. So it's like, I guess, you know, cause we're already at the 30-minute mark here, which it's crazy that flew by. But I feel like, you know, again, if you're listening to this, focus on you for a little bit, get your mental health into shape, you know, start reading, you know, get back in the gym. I'm not telling anybody how to live their life, but alcohol isn't the answer. All right. I'm going to be honest with you. Put the bottle down for a couple of days and get out there and feel some, get some fresh air and,
Sure.
and realize that the world's not ending. You can and will find a solution if you really want. But Brian, as always, man, I appreciate you joining me, brother, especially on short notice. And, this is the exact conversation that I wanted to have out there. Good. Is, at the end of the day, it's a realistic conversation, but it's also like, you guys, there is a solution if you want it. How does anybody find out more about Veritas, or how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so obviously our website is go-veritas.com. You can also reach out to us on LinkedIn. If you just search Veritas Logistics. And then, my email directly is Brian, BRIAN, at go-veritas.com. So any type of, employment opportunities, or any type of, carrier setup or shipping, opportunities, we'd love to welcome any conversation.
I love it, man. And that'll be it for today, you guys. I'll be back in studio. I'm flying out of Houston here in a couple hours. We'll be back tomorrow in studio, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. And as always, if you guys got value in what you heard today, subscribe to the show. Share it out there to your network. That's how we're number one in the industry. And that's how we're going to continue to grow and help more people, is because of each and every one of you. And the fact that if you see value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.